this week's lab, I'll be explaining how to boost your return on investment using Facebook Live. In case you haven't met me before, I'm Tony and I'm the head marketologist at My Marketology. Now, a weekly lab aims to bring you the latest and breaking news from the digital marketing world. Like our page and subscribe to our YouTube channel before we get going. So on to this week's topic, Facebook Live and using it to boost return on investment. Is it just another thing to do, or is it something that can deliver great results for you and your business? Now, live streaming is all about connecting and engaging with your audience in real time. It quickly breaks down barriers and creates a connection that takes you beyond some of the barriers of more traditional marketing methods. So a question for you, which would you remember more, a blog post that you read or a video that you interacted with in real time? Live videos are the most authentic form of video in marketing because they aren't and can't be edited. No matter what setup you use, I'll show you those shortly, your audience will be assured that there's no editing going on. It's real, it's honest, and it's authentic. There are ways to tweak the quality of your live broadcast, but obviously it's not possible to clip and trim footage while you're streaming. If you create any content for social media, and in particular Facebook, the time that it will take you to create a live broadcast is pretty much negligible. So think about it for a moment. How long would it take you to create a 2-minute long broadcast to answer a question or to share a tip? Well, about 2 minutes. That's considerably quicker than sitting down to write a blog post, to create imagery, to create a Facebook post, and then tweet about it. Attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, and live video gives your audience the perfect way to interact without having to put in too much effort or time. So why use it? Why use Facebook Live? Well, as the video is shooting, you can see how many people are watching the video, as well as the names and comments. How much does a webinar platform cost to give you the same options? Facebook Live's free. As soon as it's over, the video is automatically saved to your timeline. From there, you can share it, tweet it, embed it in blog posts, or even delete it. You can control who sees your live feed, which you can't do on products like Periscope or Meerkat, which are the Twitter options. One of the big stats really is that there's over 1 billion daily users, nearer on 2 billion now. Even if they aren't all your chosen audience, which they won't be, in all fairness, you can start to build brand awareness, which will eventually make its way to your chosen audience. So here's an example of a very, very basic setup. We've got a phone, a smartphone on a tripod, and that's all we're using. We've got the 2 screens on there and the keyboard. To be honest, we don't even need that. We can stream straight from our smartphone itself. So that's a very, very basic setup. That will get you up and running. The quality of your videos will be as good as the quality of the camera that you've got on your smartphone. The next is a slightly more advanced setup. So we've got a laptop set up, we've got a nice bottle of water there, we've got some notes in front of the screen as well, which are hidden from the camera, so we can obviously use those instead of a teleprompter. We can also use the laptop as its own version of a teleprompter as well. We've also got some professional studio lighting, or some would say maybe not so professional in that shot. And then we've got a DSLR camera with a boom mic attached for the sound and the slightly better quality as well. That would feed through using various display software that you can use. I won't go into those, we're not promoting any products. There's plenty there that you can actually use to stream straight into your Facebook Live. So slightly more advanced setup there, but to be honest, even just that basic setup that we've just touched on is more than enough just to get you going. So now you've got yourself set up, you can look at the content that you're going to be offering through your Facebook Live videos. The main tips here are really to be concise. You need to answer one question with the content or the topic that you're covering. Other than that one rule, it's pretty much the world's your oyster, and it depends on your objectives, the audience that you're targeting, and pretty much your imagination after that. So here are a few ideas for content that you could try. So the how-to videos, question and answer sessions, behind the scenes, or a day at the office, or events at your office. You could have a get to know me session or a thought of the day. You could consider product reviews, product demos with your sales reps and include question and answers as part of that. You could maybe record a live presentation. You could broadcast from industry events that are related as well. Or consider streaming a conversation with a relevant thought leader or influencer, or hold it like a chat show or an interview even. And after that, pretty much think along the lines of a YouTube influencer. There could be an infinite amount of reasons that you might be using video and live broadcasting. Ideal lengths are anywhere between sort of 3 minutes and 18 minutes, 18 minutes being the prime amount. Obviously you need to give chance to get your content across, to engage with people, and also to obviously get to your call to action at the end as well. So the shorter videos tend to not do quite as well as maybe the long ones for this purpose, but again, it's up to you to try out and experiment. So a few tips on setting up Facebook Lives, broadcasts, and getting them going. The first one really is to give it a catchy title. Make sure it's accurate as well though. Be honest about what the broadcast's going to be about, because otherwise people will just bounce off it anyway. And make sure it's targeted to your chosen audience, and also it's got the objective in mind as well. You need to catch attention in the first 3 seconds and explain what the video is about. Leave the intros and credibility until later on. At most, you have 10 seconds to capture the attention of the viewer. If not, they'll just be away. You also need to establish authority once you've caught that attention, so tell them why they should be listening to you and what the benefits are. You also need to acknowledge your audience, so ask for them to engage and interact with you. The more engagement you get, the more likely Facebook is to promote your broadcast to additional audiences free of charge. And to be fair, a lot of the views you're going to get on your live broadcast are going to be once it's saved on your timeline and you get the rebroadcast and the replays in there as well. So it may even be a case that your Facebook Live broadcast doesn't attract any viewers at all, but be assured that later on you will still get views coming in. So the next one, when you get to actually delivering the content, the purpose of the Facebook Live broadcast, stick to doing just that. Don't get caught up by greeting people or answering questions. Your audience doesn't want you to confuse them, so stick to the content in that section of your broadcast. Catch the attention at the start, have the meet and greet at the start once you've caught that attention, but once you're delivering the content, stick with it until you're finished, and then go back to what you may want to do with the engagement, the interaction from that side. You also need to know what your call to action is going to be at the end of the broadcast, and that should tie in with your overall objectives. Now, the next captions, as you can see here, the use captions, the next bullet point. This is a very, very important part that most Facebook Live broadcasters are still forgetting. 85% of Facebook video is actually watched without sound, so the autoplay comes through in your newsfeed, but there's not, up until recently anyway, there wasn't sound in there. That is a huge stat, so you can add captions when the broadcast is finished and the video is actually published to your page. Once it's published, you can also edit the title and description of the recording on your broadcast as well. So you need to bear in mind that you're going from a live situation where you originally broadcast to a replay situation once it's published on your timeline. And as I mentioned before, most of the views that you get will actually be from that rebroadcast audience, the replays. So that's the audience really that Facebook will expose your video to, as well as obviously your ads and your organic approaches as well. Now, another tip is if you want to see how other people approach in the Facebook Live broadcasts, use the Facebook Live map. Just do a quick search on your favourite search engine, Facebook Live map. As long as you're on a desktop or a laptop, you're absolutely fine. It doesn't work on mobile at this point in time. But basically what it is it's a list of live broadcasts from across the world, all plotted on a map. It doesn't show all of them, because obviously it'd just be a solid blanket of colour, because it's quite heavily used, but it does give you an idea of the more popular ones with slightly bigger blue dots on the screen, the slightly less popular ones as well, but it gives you a really good way of researching quite quickly what the better broadcasts are doing to keep and retain the audience there as well. Now, once again, you can hover over the dots on Facebook Live map. That will show you a very small thumbnail of the broadcast as it's going live as well. It'll show you how many viewers on there. And if you hover over it long enough, it'll also show you where viewers are actually located. It spreads a little spider web out and show you where those viewers are as well. So again, as I say, really good idea for getting some new ideas for approaches using that tool. So moving on from tips, we'll look at some strategy. So a few tips on strategy. As with any other digital marketing approach, you need to be consistent. So consider hosting things like a weekly live broadcast, a weekly Q&A. It'll take time for your audience to know that you're there and for them to start engaging with your broadcasts. So don't give up too soon, stick with it, be consistent, the results will come in time. You also need to create a plan, so don't go into it without knowing what you want to get out of it. Set objectives. Again, it's something we bring up in every one of our videos, is the fact you need to have objectives and goals set before you start anything and start looking at strategizing. You also need to target a chosen part of your audience, so don't try to do everything for everyone in every broadcast. Be specific about the content, the topic, and the audience that you're targeting with it. That will bring you better results than try to do everything for everyone. Another tip is don't be too promotional. There's a time and place for that. Unless the audience are aware that this is what you're going to do and that you are actually going to be very promotional in it, treat live broadcasts as evergreen content. So treat it really that your chosen audience will be able to refer back to it time and time again. You also need to make sure that your broadcasts are entertaining and that they show the real you. Again, the people don't want to see some really professional, slick, well scripted Facebook live video. They want to see the real you, but you also need to be entertaining with it as well, just to keep their interest. And when you start using live broadcasts, consider spending a small amount of money on promoting your recordings. The rebroadcast audience is where you're likely to get the most of your views, and I keep mentioning that. So gaining some exposure to new audiences using this approach is usually quite cheap, and you're usually looking at a lot less than a penny per view per video. And over time that could potentially increase your following as well, especially if the quality of the content is there. Not necessarily the quality of the recording, but it's the quality of the content and adding value that will get you the extra following. So that's how to boost return on investment and profits with Facebook Live. Decide on which setup you're going to go for. Is it just going to be a phone? Even without the tripod, you can do it handheld if you wanted to. Plan your content and make sure that you're only answering one question. Don't try and do too much with each broadcast. One specific topic, one specific target audience, one objective, and you'll start seeing the results. Know the objective of your broadcast before you start, not during or as you get to the end of it. Know exactly what that objective is going to be and what your call to action is going to be. If you don't have one, you've got no purpose for the Facebook broadcast, so don't do it in the first place. It needs to be quite strategic and it needs to add value, and you can't do that just on the hoof. Give your broadcast a catchy title. Grab attention quickly. That's an important one. Again, as I mentioned, people are a lot less attentive than goldfish now. You've got 3 seconds, maximum of 10 seconds to get the full intro in there. Ask for engagement and interaction. Again, people won't do it unless you ask them to do it. But again, don't ask for the engagement and don't ask for interactions when you're delivering the content of the broadcast. Get that done and dusted in one go without confusing people. Be entertaining and not too promotional. And above all else, Facebook Live is about having fun. I hope that you found this week's lab helpful and that you now feel ready to get involved in the buzz around live broadcasting. It can be a nervy thing to start with. If you go into it with your objectives and a good plan, you know your content's good, take it from there and that'll give you the confidence to get going. So why not consider inviting us to your broadcasts? We'd love to see what you're doing and also how you're approaching it. Now our contact details are on screen. We love to answer any questions that you might have around anything digital marketing. In this case, if you want to share those Facebook Live broadcasts, please leave a comment on our social channels or email us at hello@mymarketology.com and contact us through any of those channels if you want to mention and bring up any topics you want us to cover in the future as well. So thank you for joining me again this week. In next week's lab, I'll be telling you the only secret to digital marketing that you'll ever need to know. So don't miss it. It's going to be an absolutely great video for you. So thank you very much for visiting again, and bye for now.